to it.
Right, that is rolling.
Am I done? Okay. All right, well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Please stand up straight. Okay, so, or sit down, drink your coffee, take your tea, sit on the ground, feel comfortable. Look, at just a few words about learning, because we keep talking about learners and learning and being effective. One thing we have to be able to do is monitor that learning has taken place, or we might as well go home. Just a sheer waste of time. You talk and walk out, and then you have no idea what's happened. So there's a monitoring that goes on all the time through asking questions, getting feedback, asking people to do it, plant a seed or whatever the exercise is. But in addition to that, there's a way of measuring learning which is based entirely on the tangibles, things you can see, things you can hear, things that you can taste, things you can, all your bodily senses that we call the modalities, how we get information in. And so we have to be very careful to write our learning objectives in terms of absolute functionality, total and utter honesty. What I saw in the last session, I saw half the class get up and leave. What did I hear in the last session? I heard some put downs. It has to be verifiable and true. So when you write your learning objective for your session, words like everyone will know, hopeless. You can't be sure that everyone will know everything. Everyone will understand. Useless. It's not a learning objective. Everyone can write a definition of a global challenge. Identifiable. Everyone can talk about a pattern that they have seen or they're going to use in a design. Verifiable, or half the class or most of the class. But from now on we're adding to your burden, which is worn lightly because it's such fun, and we'd like you to try to write 2 or 3 objectives for your micro-teaching. So if your micro-teaching is about climate, people can name the 3 elements of climate and how they work in a landscape. So they can mention precipitation, wind and radiation, and then how they work, or they can say how the 3 elements of climate will affect architecture, landscape, and human behaviour. So it's things, designed for human settlements. So when you mention your learning objectives, it's good to try to tell the class, by the end of this lesson you will be able to use nonviolent communication, which means you have to try it. By the end of this session, you will be able to read body behaviour. Let's see everyone try it and read it. So it must be observable, otherwise you are never ever sure anyone learned anything at all. 12 years at school make you an expert in looking interested with the teacher. You know, the teacher looks at you and you nod and you're thinking about dinner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, how much you'll get paid or whatever. We are experts in looking interested. And to verify learning, it has to be absolutely concrete. Do, say, write, draw, mimic, anything you like, but it absolutely has to be there. So what we're trying to do now is write in some learning objectives. Here's a story that most teachers don't feel funny. So the physics professor walked into a lecture theatre and he wrote all his physics formula. He threw the board up and board 2 and threw that up. At the end of 2 hours, he'd covered 2 hours and 8 boards in the lecture theatre with formula. And he said, right now, bell's rung, everyone out. And he walked out in the corridor, another professor said to him, how'd the lecture go? He said, I think they got it. Now, only if you're clear about learning objectives does that become a joke. So I think they've got it is just nothing at all. It's empty. So think in terms of learning objective, what people can say, do, write, draw, illustrate, copy, it doesn't matter, but they must be there. Learning has not taken place unless you can tangibly see some change. So it's not only being able to design, it's all maybe explain. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Thank you, Ro. It's not something that's not emphasised enough.
Really?
What are we going to walk out the door with?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
And what are you going to... Look, I have come out of a session and no one could do it.
No, I know.
I get to the end and I say to everyone, okay, how about this? And they go, didn't really get it.
Absolutely.
It's very crushing, but it makes you smarten your act, and next time you think, how will I know that learning has taken place? Thanks, Shani. Okay, good. Brenna, have I finished?
I think so.
Good. Might have some lunch.
I'm sorry I've eaten it.
Oh, well, you're going to have to work it off. Take the pledge. This is the Permy pledge. Permy pledge.
I like micro-teaching.
I like micro-teaching.
Micro-teaching helps me to be a better person.
Micro-teaching helps me to be a better person.
Micro-teaching helps me to practice what we learn in this course.
Micro-teaching helps me to practice what we learn in this course.
Micro-teaching allows me to see some great ideas.
Micro-teaching allows us to see some great ideas.
Micro-teaching is awesome.
Micro-teaching is awesome.
Yay, micro-teaching. We just had a question about telling learners who they are. So to clarify, we're just saying the broad demographic. So children, seniors in a church setting. We don't have to focus in on learning styles because it's unlikely as teachers walking into a group that will know those beforehand anyway. Questions about our micro-teaching for today? No? Praise will be the same couple of minutes. Ro, appraising.
Appraising. Oh, all right. Let's appraise. So how we do this?
You just
So we've just done what? Brenna, we've just done your timekeeper kept time okay? And
Yep.
then you finished your debriefing?
Yep, just finished debriefing.
Okay, you ready for appraisal?
Yep.
All right, so I was lucky enough to be at your value stacked word. Being in attendance at this course, I noticed that of the 20 people, 3 people yawned. I noticed a great use of really good materials.
Great.
I noticed the use of colour. Oh, no, yeah, sorry. I noticed the use, see, it's really hard to keep value stacked words out, and that's why it's a lesson for the appraiser as much as the person. So I noticed a range of materials and colour coding in the design work, which people read more easily than when they read compared with black and white. I did hear your voice drop at the end of sentences, a little effort to hear by some people. I noticed that you presented learning objectives and then tested them at the end, and that people were able to follow those learning objectives and comply with, by the end they could prove what you had set out to talk. All right. So what's happening there? It's quite hard. What's happening? Yes, and you have to cut out good, bad, better, great, super. And what was Brenna doing? Absolutely nothing. So what happens in debriefing? Who gets to talk? Yeah, the person being debriefed. But in this case, she doesn't. So the image we give is let it flow over you. And you accept or disagree as you wish, but you cannot talk back. It's your moment to accept or not accept, and you don't have to justify one thing you did or didn't do. Because if I said, why so-and-so, so-and-so, then she's into, well, I was thinking, and what if? So it's really, really, I saw, I heard, I smelt, something at one stage. I noticed people wrote definitions. I noticed they were all the same, consistent with what you talked about earlier. So it's noticing and reporting on the clear sensory level without input, and the person being appraised cannot speak. It's quite good. One of the best places to seat yourself if you're comfortable is roughly 45 degrees is comfortable, because if Brenna doesn't want to meet my eyes, we don't have that confrontation. I too might be saying, I noticed 2/3 of the class fell asleep. I mightn't like to say it directly to her, but she's hearing it. So that's it. What was the experience like for you just then? I wouldn't ask this. This is not debriefing. This is the experience of debriefing. I'm asking Brenna, but you wouldn't ask them.
It felt like a real gift that you were paying attention to me and my teaching and giving me, it was constructive feedback and some really nice things as well that maybe helped me if I felt like I wasn't sure if it landed well or not. Mm-hmm. Felt nice to hear someone noticed what happened.
Mm. And if I were being really briefed, I'd say I would also ask my debrief from the beginning, perhaps watch my language. Are there too many ums, likes, fabulous? What are the other ones that are all replacement for accurate language that we use a lot? If you feel confident, you can ask someone, do you pull your ear all the time? Fix your teeth, clean your ears, finger up the nose. If you feel confident, you can say, please tell me anything you notice which is going to inhibit learning. If you're not, just let it roll over you. Okay. So, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Brenna. Back to lunch. So now you've got debriefing, timekeeper, and appraiser.
So any questions here, Shani?
They're three different people, timekeeper, appraiser. Yep. And also, my 15 minutes is in a flow of another hour and a half worth of lesson. My objective would come right at the end. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to say one for the little bit that I've got, or just the bit at the end?
The little one you've got.
Okay.
So the objective's up front? Like it's always in this class, we're going to learn this?
Aiming to learn this?
No.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to come out with this.
We'll be in the same size groups as yesterday. I'm aware that it's about to rain, so we'll add in, once we get in groups, a couple minutes if you need to run and grab things and run back, but stressing a couple minutes. And yesterday what we tried was having a timekeeper for the first session. Was that helpful for people? For the first micro teaching session? It seemed to work quite well on keeping us on track. So we'll do that again. There'll be a cooee start, cooee 15 minutes, then cooee 5 minutes later. And in that 5 minutes at that end, we would have done our debriefing and appraising and got ready for the next session. If your group's slightly before those cooees, you can self-manage your time, and after that first one, we won't do it again. So we'd encourage people, again, time management is an important teaching skill. After debriefing and appraising, we're not discussing, and that was great. We'll save that for afternoon tea so that we all get through before the end of afternoon tea. Alrighty. Thinking about numbering off, is it the number of groups or the number of people in the group that we use?
Groups.
Number of groups. Say it again. Number of groups. One more time. Number of groups.
Unless you decide to do it the other way, but you're going to make that clear.
Or maybe you could make a good teaching point by doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So that everyone realises how important it is.
Idea. How about you do that? No one's ever done that before, Sean.
We were actually going to do that in this course, and Shani went and did it for us. So thank you so much, Shani. The best way to learn. What's another way we could get into groups of 4 or 5 people?
You could say allocate 5 different kinds of fruit or animals.
Animal sound.
Yeah.
Ask when people are born and then adapt it a little bit because it's never quite even.
Oh, interesting.
Or like have all the Scorpios in one place.
All the Scorpios in one place.
You do it in like lunar season, so you get Scorpions and whatever's next.
Yeah, we went
Sarah?
I've done fruit with kids groups.
Yeah.
Grapes, apples, watermelon, banana. Grapes, apple, watermelon, banana.
Yep.
Another one is say, form yourself in groups of 5 people, please.
Yep.
Self-organised. And people do it.
Shane?
That's what you're moving towards.
Yep.
My go-to thing all the time is playing cards. So actually, you don't hand out the cards, all the ones go together, all the twos go together. You just have to get someone at the beginning to make sure you've got the same number of cards as you have people in the group. Or you know those free postcards that you can get? You can cut them into 2s or 3s or 4s depending on how big you want the groups, and that's really good. They do a little jigsaw to...
Oh, that's a good idea.
I've got bags of insects and ocean animals at school that kids pick out, and they go and find their other animals.
If you self-organise, is there a risk that people will clump together in certain...
Yes.
We say just go with some people you haven't worked with before. So to circulate. That's the most ideal autonomous thing for adults is just organise yourselves in groups of 5 and try to be the people you haven't been with before.
Yeah.
You could use a mix of the 4 quadrants of skills thing we did.
Yeah.
One of each type.
Yeah, one of each type of learning style. So I'd invite you to self-organise into groups of, there'll be 3 groups of 4 and 2 of 5. With people that you maybe haven't learned from or been in groups before. And we've got 4 minutes to run and grab things and put them in cars. Check in with your group first though about where you're going to meet up and where your teaching space will be, somewhere undercover. Greta's in the barn for the next 5 minutes, so if we can squish around here undercover first, or maybe out here if it's not raining but nearby, then 1 group or 2 groups can go to the barn after that.
Quick announcement, I've got a large tarp spare if anyone needs to batten down
And I've got half a caravan free if people want to dump something. I'm not inviting you to sleep in it.
I spoke to Jodie and Brenna about going to the barn, and Jodie recommended actually going into the common house, which is just next to the barn. If you like, then you've got a swag and you have a shelter for that to go into, not the barn, but just behind the barn.
Okay, thanks everyone. Groups of 4 or 5.
Oh, you were, okay.
Introducing Jess from Crooked Fiddle.
Very down the
Who's not on their feet yet? These guys know where it's at. If you work all day from 9 to 5 and come home feeling half alive and never see your kids and wife, then I've got news for you. There's no point doing what you do unless it's somehow good for you. You've got to get a result or two in the form of something real. 'Cause if you're feeling stressed and not the best and have trouble finding happiness, well, here's one thing I will suggest. Train yourself a yield. Train yourself a yield. Sustain your energy. Don't drain yourself. Maintain yourself. Obtain yourself a yield. Oh, 'cause money is not the only yield. You could be making a bigger deal about what you eat for your next meal. You can't run on an empty tank. Ignore the stash of cash in your pocket. Just make a salad with some homegrown rocket. You just have to go out the back and pluck it. No need to go to the bank. You gotta work your days for stuff that pays. And not just money, but in many ways. It's time you cleared away the haze. Obtain yourself a yield. Obtain yourself a yield of something you can eat. 'Cause you can produce some things of use with your own 2 hands and feet. Yeah, obtain yourself a yield right in the here and now. Make sure to earn something in return. Here, let my Yuka show you how. Give it up for Mayuko on the clarinet. I think it's time we heard from Jess of the Crooked Fiddle Band. What do you guys reckon? All right, what do you got? Feeling sleepy, give it up for Jess, and go and have a sleep. But if you feel like there's not enough air, then breathe in very deep. And if you're thirsty, then you order, get yourself a drink of water. And if it's gonna be cold and you're feeling bold, you can cheer yourself a sheet. 'Cause in any given moment, there's everything you need. Just look around, it will be found, and obtain yourself a yield. Obtain yourself a yield, but take only what you need. 'Cause it's pretty fun when you're getting some, but there's no need for greed. Obtain yourself a yield, and one for others too. Make sure to seal both ends of the deal, and what's good for both of you. 'Cause an easy way to do it is to give stuff to your friends, because the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never ends. I said the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never ends. Let's make sure. Well, the good things you do come back to you, and the yield just never, ever, ever, ever ends.
You always want to be cautious of sound in that one. I find people tend to speed up and get louder and louder, and it only gets dangerous if people can't hear someone saying falling. So I have cut that activity short if it gets loud. Someone will leave. Thanks for letting me run that. It's one of my favorites. Thank you. Do you feel energized?
Okay, we've hit that uncomfortable moment of the day when we actually do a group debrief. So instead of stepping forward 2 steps and seeing who agrees with us, we're either going to wave 2 legs and 2 arms if we really love being an appraiser. You can all do it better than me, which is a good thing for a teacher. So if you liked appraising and you think you did appraising well, please wave 2 arms and 2 legs.
I'm not sure if Shani was something.
Yeah. Okay, who found appraisal actually quite difficult? Well, I do. Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to do more appraisal, and please try to get closer to non-judgmental and value words and phrases of any type. I struggle with it all the time, and I've been trying for years, so I never get there, but I'm on the road. Okay, who was quite happy about being appraised? It was fine. Okay. Oh, good. So appraisal well given is very, very helpful. And it's a really good skill that you can perhaps use somewhere else, unless people are being very sensitive. Anything to do with them is seen as you're criticising me. But most people are happy about, I noticed that you had your finger in the ear or something. Who asked their appraiser to look out for either quirks or tics or language patterns? Did anyone do that? Okay. Did you? Good on you. Terrific. Okay, fine. Who managed to keep their talking to 30% or less? 4 arms and legs if you did. And the implications of that are what? If you want people to be able to learn for 70% of the time, what does it mean for the teacher? And preparation. And keep the learning objectives ahead of you. Very good. Okay, who gave their ethics at the beginning? There were some great ethics and really lovely statements, and this I thought was really a standard that was really up there and immediate and well done. Now, I'm using value words. I saw 90% of people, and I saw the effect on the group listening to those ethics. Okay, who was able to give some learning objectives in this session? Who was able to verify them? It's quite hard to check that they were met. What sorts of things did you do? Did you get people to write or show or draw or?
Drew maps.
Great, terrific.
Mine was a mapping one too.
Was it? Great. Beth, yeah?
Can you explain to an imaginary person?
That's a very good one. Your imaginary friend. Okay. Or what are you going to tell your family when you go home tonight? Yes. Very nice. There was some lovely work there. Who was able to give some context before and after? So I'm doing soils. We've just finished water, where we looked at, okay, right, getting into the flow. And who finished by saying what might be coming after? Who bookended it? Yeah, gosh, some proficiency being achieved here on a strong degree. I noticed the learning spaces were particularly good. People were in circles, they were in groups, and this was absolutely clear. And when you do that, the conversation changes. It changes it completely from that top down. Who actually stood up by a whiteboard a lot of the time? Did anyone do that? Okay. Tomorrow we're going to ask you all, unless you're out on a field visit, to please try to sit down all the time and regard it more as a conversation. Body behaviour? Anyone conscious of the class or your own body behaviour?
People leaning forward, people engaging.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, who used prepared materials? I saw quite a lot. I saw Brenna's cards used twice. Did you use them as effectively as you could have, or did you use them because it was good to have them?
I used my materials and had it in previous sessions because he had a gap in mine, and mine was about community and making links, so it worked perfectly.
That sounds excellent.
I used it because they were the first thing I could grab before the session. I had nothing else prepared.
Oh, Charlie.
Right. So tomorrow, someone else? Sorry, yes. It's hard, isn't it? It's good to use a board in terms of people can see and hear. So you're working with 2 modes of perception. But it's not good to rely on the board to be talking to all the time if you can help it. So tomorrow you're going to really work on sitting down, speaking 30% of the time or less, providing some context, body behaviour, and the flow. So it wasn't clear to me the flow of the topics where one was somehow linked to the next and linked to the next, either in priority of learning or in understanding. Because in this education we're trying to make it wider, but we're also going deeper as we go in. So as I mentioned before, we start water and sector analysis, rainfall, precipitation, all that stuff. Then we go on to do water, domestic water, water in the landscape. Then we do trees and their precipitation and water. Then we go on to do all the zones, and each of them we have a different way of dealing with water. So in that case, there is your flow right through, a theme running through, and where you start and where you go is really important. When you're putting together your PDC, you need to have these discussions on, is this the most appropriate place to teach this? Will this knowledge build the next knowledge and help us to go deeper? If I'd done patterns early, I'd be referring to orders of the landscape somewhere else next, so that that could be taken as known. What order of landscape are in, what are we trying to restore to, especially if you're doing zones. I've nearly finished. There's just one thing, I heard some patterns, and on the whole, I wondered what the learning objectives were in patterns. It seemed to me, from listening, I heard the word patterns used where you need the word form. A circle is a form. A spiral is a form. A hexagonal is a form. Even a harmonic is a form. It's not a pattern until it's repeated. So the functions of a pattern is it's repeated in time and space. So that if we're looking at a pattern, it must be replicated either in time and space to be a pattern. So if we talk about what is the pattern caused by an eroding river, the pattern is that curved undercut of the bank, which is repeated again and again till the top of the river falls in and the river is being eroded. If we look at the pattern of soil erosion across a landscape, the scouring and the patches are quite clear, and the orders change from 1 to 5 going down the hill till you've got a massive gully. So understanding patterns is understanding that replication in time and space. So some of these forms have actual reasons to apply them. They have a function. So the function of the circle, of course, is to hold the maximum space in that perimeter. So where would we use it? Where resources are short, where space is small, where we are trying to begin something in a difficult environment, where we want to put in a circular windbreak even in a desert where the winds are savage. Where do we use the circle? Where do we use the spiral? How can you use those forms in your designs as a pattern? And when you've finished your design, if you're working down a slope, you'll have trees across the top, sort of a harmonic. You'll have water stored in the landscape at various places, replicated. Then you will have the rivers getting bigger at the bottom and treed, and that will be the landscape that the design you will impose as a pattern on that landscape according to latitude, height above sea level. I would recommend all of you who did patterns, it isn't so much about the form being nice or interesting. Sure, we have to know winds are cyclic, winds are spirals, waves are spirals, but we have to know where the circular trunk of a tree also combines with the dendritic pattern to give function. And therefore, when we look at a number of trees, we're looking at a pattern across the landscape of round trunks and dendritic canopies. So understanding where patterns, forms fit together, and they come together and are integrated for the sake of the landscape. So you know if you're doing something on small windbreaks, you need a bun-shaped plant. It's got to be leafed to the ground. It's no good putting something that comes up on a stalk and sits like that. If you're looking for living mulches, you're looking quite often for citrus that is leafed to the ground to provide its own moisture, leaf drop and mulch. You're looking for form that's replicated to perform certain functions, and what functions are they performing. I'd like you all to be able to work harder, because it's the key to permaculture design. It's the thing we really have to be comfortable with, including the orders, to be able to design well and teach well. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm happy to talk about it privately later. Can I go in the minute? Please? Please teach? Yeah. Can I go early? I've got an essay to write. Shall I just drop that? But this isn't for your assistance. The flow of the course is how you arrange the topics so that the learning is broader and deeper. If you start in the wrong place, people mightn't have enough knowledge. So we had a really terrible situation recently where the teacher hadn't taught about water in the landscape and how to retain it, spread it, sink it and store it properly. And when we got to farmland, none of the students knew how to do it. They didn't have a clue. So, you know, that's very, very exasperating, and it's almost negligent not to have taught that early on and then refer to it coming through the course. So what we've done is give you a list of topics. There are probably others you could add, and these can be a list that you can work with to develop your PDC flow and structure. There are several themes that run through almost everything, and it's up to you to have those discussions. I don't know what you did yesterday, but I found it very useful. Draw an outline of a person and what will they be competent in, and then go back and see how and where to put it. And then you've developed the competencies first, which you teach to, and then you can see how your subjects fit. You can do it any way you like, but that is one way into developing a curriculum that works for you. Okay.
Well, when we're doing the group thing, we're getting that?
Oh, we'll put it up so you can look at it, take a photograph in your phone. We want to help you to get on with it. You don't have to invent it all yourself. Had a talk to Brenna. There are a couple of slightly different topics here, but they're contained differently in that West Australian course. They're there, but contained differently. So I don't do anything called social permaculture. I do a block called social permaculture. It starts with bioregions, goes on to urban, goes on to places where people are working, organisations, land access, even disasters should be in there, require a community response and a group response. It requires a society to work. Now that's just a different way of arranging it, but I think the topics are there. So, I think, if you don't mind, I'll excuse myself. Is that all right?
Do you want to do an appraisal of some things you saw?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. I didn't write them down, unlike yesterday, but I'll just add a couple to what Rose said. I'm going to try and speak loudly because of the tin roof, but if you can't hear me, just signal. Let me think about it. Maybe you go first. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Thanks.
I'm so ready. So good. I saw people giving genuinely warm responses to the students, their learners. I saw genuinely enthusiastic reactions from teachers to learners and vice versa. I saw teachers assisting learners with prompts. I saw teachers letting learners answer first, even when they knew the answer. I heard somebody say, we're skipping forwards a bit with that question. Let's do this activity first and see if that answers it for you. If it doesn't, we'll come back to it. I heard someone playing relaxing music on an air ukulele. I heard the question, could you compost your neighbour? I heard someone say, I make my butler water my lawn. I heard someone self-correct a teacher and say, yeah, do we get it? and then say, oh, I mean, what could I explain differently? I saw somebody set up an activity and walk out of the room while learning took place. And I heard the question, no, I saw a class around how Venetia's compost-powered sauna relates to social permaculture in several ways. Bit of a highlight.
Mine aren't as funny. But I saw someone very quickly adapt their class based on the knowledge in the room. I saw, so going backwards rather than doing the activity they'd planned, completely changed their class in the drop of a hat when they saw that the learning wasn't there and realizing they had to go back and backfill some information. I observed, people rephrasing questions when they thought, when students didn't understand the question. Yeah.
Do micro teaching for tomorrow?
Sure. So tomorrow, we're back at our cards. Maybe we can stick them up here today. Can you see that? Again, we're going to select a must know. We're going to teach again for 15 minutes, so don't worry, not too much longer. We are going to decide who teaches in our group based on the order. Arrange the teaching space. Steph, can I pass these to you? Timekeeper, debriefer, and
Praiser.
who had the apiary. The apiarist was a new addition to the micro teaching group today. We're going to tell our learners who they are at the beginning of our session. That doesn't mean what learning style they have, but that's about their learner profile. So you are school kids on camp, you are urban people who are doing a PTC in the evenings, you are elderly members of the community at a community garden, you are farmers at a rural farm day, you know. Give them some context and design your session based on who your learners are. Thank you. Again, explaining the purpose and the learning outcomes of your session. I think we continue on. Linear, maybe we can pass our job on to Nick. He's got long arms. Again, teach for 15 minutes. Try to link your session to the learning that's taken place before and will come afterwards. We've got new ones. Use teaching methods and match them to the topic that you're teaching. So try and choose appropriate teaching methods for what it is you're teaching and who it is that you're teaching. Thank you. Try to use conscious questioning. We're moving tomorrow into teaching methods, and so this will make a little bit more sense when we go through that session in the morning. But how can we use questions strategically so that we elicit a learning response from students in our session? Oh, I forgot there you go. Thank you.
Okay. Which one is that?
That one. And then consider how you're going to verify that learning has taken place. What do you need to see your students know, do, write, say, demonstrate, make, in order for you to know as a teacher that the learning has taken place? What's not clear?
Did Road is also saying don't use a whiteboard?
Don't.
Ah, yeah, we're starting a campaign. Is it?
Ban the stand.
Ban the stand.
Is it okay to stand if everyone else is standing?
It's okay to stand if everyone else is standing. Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. But you wouldn't be standing while everyone else was seated unless it was for a good reason.
Yep.
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 Power thing.
Our group size is the same, or?
Oh, it might be one extra person.
Right.
Throw one extra in there to keep it interesting. If you didn't get a chance to share your teaching ethics today, make them up. Aim to share them tomorrow.
So the group's going to have one extra person?
Yep.
So we'll go for an extra?
Yes. Yes. And so tomorrow we won't be running around putting our things inside because of the rain, so we'll start on time. We'll be good. People, this group is the first teacher training group I've had experience with, I don't know about you, Greta, who has managed their time well.
Themselves.
So impressed from today, so congratulations. Yeah. So tomorrow it'll be 15 minutes, there'll be an extra person, so we'll encourage people to, before the last 1 or 2 people go, you'll go have a quick afternoon tea, go back to the last 1 or 2 micro teaching, probably be 1, and then we'll meet back here afterwards, kind of like today. So some groups with less people have more spacious afternoon tea, some groups will be pressed for time. Any other questions?
You go.
As far as the content that we're teaching, I suggested this to someone and then thought, oh, that was silly, I should have checked before I even brought that up. We've each chosen, I did zones yesterday, I'm doing forest today. Is it okay to recycle that, like if I did zones again tomorrow, but maybe tweaked it a bit and then, but that gives me more space to focus on what we're actually trying to do, work on the delivery, add in the extra new things we've done. How important is the content? I know the important content is important, but how important is having a new piece of content as opposed to trying to fit this in?
What would you say, Greta?
I think at this point it's okay. I think having a new topic today was important so we don't get in a habit or, of just learning the same content. But I actually understand that need to go, I'd actually like to practice this more and do better than last time. So.
You get out of this experience, out of this week, what you're looking for. If that is the best learning you can achieve this week, then go for it. There is value in teaching a new topic each time. Ultimately, it's your decision. If you taught the same topic each time and that was going to bring the best learning for you, then that's your decision. New topics each time, a bit more difficult on some levels, but that does have benefits as well.
Yeah.
Is that your question, Jasper?
I don't think maybe someone should ask independently afterwards, but my topic, like the wording on the speaking is like course service, and I think the information's important. It's not what you would see is slot what you see.
What's your topic?
I want to do the fundamentals of planet Earth organism, like all the larger cycles and that.
Yeah, there's a few topics that could fit into. Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat after. Yep. Other questions? Okay, group work time. So we've got a few tasks in the remaining 45 minutes of this session. First task, finish anything your group didn't finish yesterday. So that's your name, discussing past group experience, thinking about your learning styles and what you bring to the group, and then your group agreements. And once all that's done, today's tasks are to create a learner profile for your group's PDC. And one of the ways we can do that is take a page, big bit of paper together, draw your learner there. Looks like our housemate a little bit. And around the side, write who they are, age, everything we did yesterday with Greta's session. So we're really figuring out as a group what we want our group PDC to be and who it's for. Then we're thinking about our topics, and this will be up in the classroom. Take a picture. Like Rose said, there are some topics, like on the PDC here, social permaculture is a topic. In this PDC, all of those outcomes from social permaculture, in Rose PDC, the outcomes from social permaculture are covered in separate topics. So having that awareness, if you've got questions about that and say, oh, something is a core topic, but it's not there, is my experience wrong? Come ask me, because I've seen a few PDCs. But there's a great list here of topics. All the topics we've been covering in micro-teaching have been spot on as core topics. So thinking about in your group PDC, what topics are relevant, most relevant for your learners? And then you can begin designing your PDC curriculum. Now that's pretty tough in a decent sized group, pretty tough by yourself. So you'll think up a way to do this. Yeah? We've seen post-its, we've seen bits of paper being moved around, we've seen everyone writes 5 ideas and let's compile them. You'll find out a process for your group. That's part of what we'll be reflecting on the final day. Had some secret whispers up at the camp kitchen late last night. Some were privy to that, some weren't. So words out that on the final day, when we do our group presentations, it's actually going to be something pretty exciting. I'll tell you that tomorrow. No. The presentation will take the form of a creative exercise. So what could be more boring than everybody in this group, 26 people standing there and reading from a timetable that they've made with their group? Probably nothing. And talking to the whiteboard. So that's not what we're expecting on the final day. We're expecting people to show their process and their learning and some of their outcomes, so their PDC and the journey that it took to get to this point in your groups, in a way that's exciting, thinks outside the box, that's enjoyable to watch, that's bringing in all of your teaching skills that we've been learning about, that's really breaking the mold of what a presentation could be in a group. And we'll be giving some more examples about that tomorrow, because today you're just parking that in the back of your mind, but you're really thinking about these things. Learner profile, topics, discussing your PDC curriculum. Yeah?
Can I please ask for some clarification on that?
Yeah.
How many topics do we each need to pick, or is that a bit loose?
What do we think?
Or did I miss something yesterday?
It's a brilliant question. Yeah.
At least. So yeah, the minimum is a 72-hour PDC, but it could go for longer, and a lot do.
So how many days does an intensive PDC tend to have, give or take? 10? 12, 14, 16 if there's a weekend break in the middle, about that. Yeah, couple of weeks would be intensive, and if it's part-time, you can extrapolate from there.
So then the curriculum, am I correct in thinking you mean set up the 2 weeks and do this topic, break, this topic, lunch, this topic?
Yep.
Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we diving into actually how we would present each topic, or is it just basically creating a timetable on the floor?
Park how you present it in the back of your mind for now. Those conversations come up a bit, but we're trying to keep on focus for today. Really, what are the topics? What's their value in this PDC for our group and our learners? And sorry?
Sorry, it's just the word curriculum to me is like that, you know, heavy document with all the information about permaculture design. All the session plans. That's what curriculum is.
You could call this the flow of the PDC, the order of the topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily each bit, it has to be each topic to fill your...
No.
Okay.
An overview.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Like a timetable.
Timetable, overview, the flow. Some people, syllabus might seem like that's a bigger job than it is. So overview, if that's a useful word, thank you. For those who haven't seen them yet, there are a few printouts of PDC timetables on the library table. That's a good place to start. You can see how many topics, how many days. Anything to add, Greta?
That's great.
Yeah,
I
that
was
was helpful.
Wondering, I was in another session before, so I missed it, but did we cover how you could structure the flow?
Let's give a few examples.
Okay, so there's some people choose the order of which they teach based on different patterns. Some people teach pattern to detail. So as Rose said, large thematic topics at the beginning, giving an overview of eco-literacy and then moving down into more granularity. Some people choose to teach the designer's manual, chapters 1 to 14, day by day. Some people choose...
Some teach through zones.
Yep.
So doing zone 1, what's in zone 1? Okay, we might have some type of food production there, maybe domestic small animals. Zone 1 and 2, you might group them. Moving out to zones 5. You said designer's manual?
Yep. Some people teach by biome. Some people teach a whole day water, whole day soil, whole day climate, whole day landscape or earthworks. There's no right or wrong. They're decisions that we all have to make when we're designing a course.
But they do all in different ways. Effective PDCs all in different ways cover these topics with some combination of names.
Have you seen any PDCs taught in any part of the framework of retro-suburbia? And then like the biological group behavioural?
No. Series in Melbourne has a PDC with an urban focus, but aside from seeing every topic through that lens and then also including a couple of sessions on retro-suburbia, I haven't seen anything closer than that. Rod's going to take that up. Pat?
How realistic do our participants, our learners, have to be?
You'll decide that as a group, whatever works for you. Other questions?
So the main thing, if like you choose a particular way of designing the PC, is to be able to kind of give the background of why. Did you choose that?
Yeah, it's deepening our understanding of why PDCs are different, and through the process gaining an appreciation of which topics are important and also how the choice of topics relates to the audience of that PDC. So after you finish with your group, you'll self-organise when that is, and then we've got our break and we'll see each other at dinner. And evening session tonight is behaviours that challenge teachers. Very interesting. Optional, come along if you'd like to.
There's no bad behaviour. There's just teachers without the skills and the tools to navigate the situation.